Okay, he's on.
Good morning. I'd like to call the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners to order. Today is Thursday, May 21st, 2026. It's 9:00 a.m. Board of County Commissioners convene as other boards. Members of the Board of County Commissioners also serve as the Liquor Board, Central Lyon Vector Control District Board, Mason Valley Mosquito Abatement District Board, Walker River Weed Control District Board, Willow Creek General Improvement District Board, the Silver Springs General Improvement District Board, and during this meeting, they convene as any of those boards as indicated on this or separately posted agenda. Note, this meeting may break between 11:30 and 1:30 for lunch. Roll call. Commissioner Jacobson, Commissioner Hendricks, Commissioner Hockaday, and Commissioner Keller are in chambers. Commissioner Casanelli is absent at the moment. We did have road construction, so we might take a break. Go to the invocation given by Wes Sheeting of Crosswinds Firming Assembly of God, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, Commissioner Hockaday?
Good morning. Let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for the opportunity that we have here today and for the leadership that is represented here. Lord, I just pray a blessing over our county. Lord God, that you would continue to pour out a blessing. And Lord, I just pray for a spirit of unity in this place today. Lord, that everything that is said and done here, Lord God, would continue to further our county. Lord, I pray that you would just give wisdom and guidance and Lord, bless our time together. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Let the record show that Commissioner Casanelli has joined us in chambers. At this point, we'll go to public participation. No action was taken on any item until it is properly agendized. It is anticipated that at this time, though it may be, public participation will be held at this time, though it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda item. But before the board takes any action, do we have any public comment in the room?
For the record, this is Robin Biggs, citizen of Urrington, Nevada. Agenda item 4C you need to hold off on this. It's the juvenile patient office asking for $82,273.95 for body cameras. That's good. But tasers, no, that is ridiculous. Tasers for the juvenile probation. Where does it show? Where's the documentation that tasers are needed on juveniles? My daughter was involved in the juvenile system. She's 30 years old now. Tasers with the juvenile is ridiculous. This money should be, some of this money, we do not have Channel 8 air antenna relay up on the hill. we have Channel 4 and Channel 2. And they serve Yerington and Smith Valley. And you need to use some of that money to collaborate with Channel 8. They'd like to bring it in, but they can't afford it. Their tower could go up there and the internet, everything shuts down. You still have air antenna. There are countless citizens that can't afford to buy to get TV from Direct or however you get it, Apple, all that stuff. So for the fear of God's wrath, please do not, you need more documentation that tasers are needed for juvenile probation.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Any public comment online? Seeing none, we'll move on. Possible action, review and adoption of the agenda.
Chair Keller, I'll make a motion that we approve today's agenda, pulling 13. I don't see any agenda item written on there.
Could you pull 6C2? They're going to do it later.
We'll pull 6. Oh, so not today at all.
Right.
All right, and pulling 6C from the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any public comment? None in the room, none online. Bring it back to the board for a vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion was by Commissioner Jacobson, seconded by Commissioner Hendricks, and the vote was 5-0 to approve. 6, time certain, 9:00 a.m. Public hearing on the tentative budget for fiscal year 2026, 2027. Comptroller Josh Foley.
Josh Ford, Lyon County Comptroller for the record, wanted to let the board know, we did receive a letter, which is in your packet from the Department of Taxation, saying the tentative budget is in compliance with law and regulations. And then if you want to open up the public hearing to the public to see if we have any comments and then close it when you're done, that would be great.
And I'll open it up for the public for any input. Seeing none, then we'll close that budget item. Do we have to vote on it? Okay. Six B, time certain 9:00 a.m. for possible action, approve the final budget for fiscal year 2026, 2027. Josh Foley.
There are no changes from the tentative budget to the final budget that have been proposed. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Is there any questions from the board?
Chair Keller, I just wanted to, per NRS 281A.420, due to my relationship with the Northern Nevada Development Authority and NDA, I wish to abstain from the line item on page 24 regarding economic development.
Can we make a motion just to pull that line item? And then he can vote on the rest of the budget, except for that one, so we can do them separately.
Now I'll make the motion. Can I make that motion?
Yeah.
Yes, I can make the motion to pull page 24 from the final budget for further discussion of vote.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. If I may clarify, I think your intent was to pull that, but then take a vote on the rest of the budget.
Yes,
You might want
so I can vote on the entire budget other than page 24.
Okay, yeah, so if you could clarify your motion a little bit, just so.
Okay, so I move to pull page 24 from the final budget for vote. And then have myself abstain from page 24, vote on the full budget, and then abstain while the rest of the board votes on that page. I don't know how to word it.
So I think it's a motion to pull item page 24 from the budget.
For separate vote.
And so we're gonna pull that right now. If we, we're gonna need a second.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Casanelli, seconded by Commissioner Hendricks, to pull page 24 from the agenda. Those in favor say aye.
Did you want to?
Public comment. Thank you, Commissioner Jacobson. Okay, bring it back to the board. Those in favor say aye. Aye. So can we present page 24? No, it's out of budget, out of.
Josh Ford, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. Page 24 includes $50,000 that the board has appropriated for, or is considering to appropriate for Northern Nevada Development Authority. And that's our annual contribution that we pay to have them do economic development for the county.
Do you have any input from the board? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the board for a motion on that item.
Chair Keller, I'll make a motion to approve the budget for NDA on page 24 of our budget packet.
Do you have I have a motion from Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Hendricks. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0 with Commissioner Casanelli abstaining. Now we'll go back to the rest of the budget presentation.
I'm here if you have any questions. It hasn't changed from the tentative budget.
Do you have any questions from the board? Commissioner Jacobson.
Just kind of what we had mentioned last time, during the tentative budget hearing. Just want to thank your staff and you for preparing them. Well drafted, well organized, thoughtful, conservative budget, and appreciate it.
Thank you. And my staff appreciates it. When they heard that last time, they were all excited.
Commissioner Casanelli.
I did have one clarification, and I did ask Manager Haskin, but I just wanted a clarification on the summary of the significant items. The Aspen Creek Road expansion is in for 2.5 million. And then I saw, I can't find the page now, but there's additional road expansion for 3 million. And are those are in addition to the roads
Yes.
3 and 4? Is that?
So yes, there are two different agenda items. One of them is the budget and one of them is the debt management and capital improvement plan. And the debt management capital improvement plan, the first year matches the budget, but then you have years 2, 3, 4, and 5 after that have additional items that are in the budget, but the board's contemplating for future capital outlay. And we anticipate that the growth in Dayton is going to necessitate more ridge sites than just the Aspen Creek site potentially.
So we're planning ahead then next. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Do we have any other comments from the board? We'll go to public participation. Do we have any in the room? Online? Okay, we'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to approve the final budget for fiscal year 2026 through 2027, minus page 24, the item for NNDA.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. This brings us to 6D, time certain at 9:05 a.m. for presentation only. Presentation by Misha Allen, Northern Nye County Extension Educator on agrivoltaics in Western States, farming and ranching under elevated solar. Requested by Commissioner Hendricks.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Commissioner Hendricks, thank you for the invitation, and it's lovely to be speaking with the commission this morning. My name is Misha Allen, Allen. I am with UNR. I'm the extension educator for Northern Nye County. And when it comes to the presentation this morning, am I sharing my screen or will you be hosting it?
Sit on our end.
Share it, or are we going to host?
Oh, I think I see it there.
We've got it up now. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, so So I'm an extension educator. I'm a teacher. My job is to be responsive to community identified needs. And so when I came into my position back in 2021, and I was attending my county commissioner meetings, there was a lot of public opposition to incoming conventional solar. Um, the public had a lot of concern, anger, fear around both current and potential solar projects that were coming into our county. And with their opposition, I could relate to a lot of it. I could see how the public's concern, I could categorize it into two different ways, two categories. So one was this lack of land stewardship and care for the land. And the second was concern over lack of local benefit and what were we actually getting from these projects. And so my public's concern really launched my journey into finding potential solutions for them. I'm a teacher, so I go out, I look for solutions, and I bring back my findings. And that's what I'd like to do here today. I'll be kind of addressing the land stewardship issues and talking about alternatives to conventional solar. And then to address that concern over the lack of local benefits, I did find a different tool that local jurisdictions could use in community benefit agreements. But excuse me, that's a different discussion. And so today, really just wanted to introduce you to some of the information I found as far as alternatives to conventional solar. Next slide, please. So what was my public telling me that they were opposed to? And really in this journey, I discovered that solar development really has a public image problem in Knight County, and what they were opposing, what were their perceptions, is really the concerns, like I said, about land use and land stewardship. They did not like what appeared to them, their words, is this kind of scorched earth approach, which comes with the blading and grading that is utilized to level these projects. And there's a lot of dust disturbance and land disturbance that occurs with them. I'm also feeling like they are poisoning, again, the public's words, the land by spraying herbicides and keeping that land unnaturally bare, which then, like I said, is a source for dust and also an eyesore. This kind of feeling that the conventional solar industry, they've had decades to incorporate some land stewardship and shared land use practices into their business models and haven't. Definitely feeling like there's a land grab, both for these utility scale projects that impact large swaths of land on public lands, but also this conversion of agricultural lands out of production to just conventional solar. And in my communities, really this feeling of unkept promises, coming in saying that they wouldn't be utilizing specific community resources, but then needing them and putting a burden on things like our volunteer fire department, and really feeling like there was a lack of direct community benefits coming into the community. Next slide, please. And so, like I said, I went looking for alternatives. I wanted to see what other communities were doing to address these concerns that my public had. And really quickly, actually found these shared land use projects that incorporate solar generation as a co-priority or a co-production. And agrivoltaics and ecovoltaics are two examples of that. So agrivoltaics is farming and ranching under solar panels, and ecovoltaics is conservation of and ecosystem services under solar. And that can be conservation of different things, animals, plants, biocrusts, things like that. What became really evident to me is that these obviously, these must have very different business models from conventional solar. Their daily operations and management must be different, and their best practices must be different to be able to prioritize and co-produce these multiple services. Next slide, please. And you can see that that's kind of evident here, right? You can see that the inputs that go in to developing a conventional solar project versus developing a co-production solar project like agrivoltaics or ecovoltaics are different. And then also how they're running the business and managing the business on a daily basis, right? Their inputs and their outputs are very different. And this is an interesting slide that when I show this to the public, really there's a very strong reaction to these photos. The photos on the left, I had one participant say that this looked apocalyptic, and that the systems on the right, the pictures on the right, looked more like progress. And I frequently get the question asked during these presentations to the public also is if there's systems like alternatives to this, why are we accepting conventional solar? And part of that is just not knowing that these systems exist. And so next slide, please. So to that, I'm kind of understanding specifically agrivoltaics, which is an interest of mine and an interest to the Nye County, Southern Nye County public in particular, where agriculture is an important component in our communities, is talking about what agrivoltaics actually is. And it's really interesting. These systems, there's a lot of synergy that occurs within these. So the slightly elevated solar panels act kind of like a canopy, like a tree canopy. So the solar panels are actually providing filtered shade and cooling that air temperature and soil temperature for the vegetation. And so you have this microclimate that is occurring in relation between the vegetation and the panels that allows the soil to retain more moisture. And so there's less irrigation requirements. So this actually supports water conservation in the agricultural industry, which is important because the ag industry in Nevada does utilize about 70% of water use in Nevada. In addition, which was absolutely fascinating to me, is this cooler microclimate didn't just benefit the plants. It also benefits the solar panels. So by having that cooler microclimate, the solar panels are actually able to produce energy more efficiently. Additionally, people and animals like the shade. So the shade provides relief for farm workers and for livestock too. When it comes to livestock, there's been some very interesting research that has shown improvements in body composition and body scoring of sheep, in addition to increased lambing rates under within these systems. And so there were a lot of benefits that seemed to come with these systems. In addition, which I don't have here on the slide, is if the system is owned or if the land is leased by the agricultural producer, it also produces additional revenue for that landowner or that agricultural producer. So that helps to provide some stability in their operation with the additional revenue. But I was skeptical about all of this. I really needed to get boots on the ground and to see these systems for myself. Next slide, please. And so with a Western SARE grant, I was able to travel, create my own tour, my Western States Agrivoltaics tour. I visited 9 agrivoltaic sites across Arizona, California, Colorado, and Oregon. And I'm going to show you some of those pictures here now. Next slide, please. So here we have, this is the University of Arizona, both of these sites. So the picture on the left is actually a rooftop site. Both of these are in Tucson, Arizona. Tucson, very similar to, I would say, Southern Nevada, and increasingly more so becoming an issue in Northern Nevada also, which is rooftop gardens aren't really feasible. We get too much hot sun and too much hot wind. You add elevated solar to that rooftop garden, and suddenly it becomes viable. This picture on the left, Tucson, is actually an ecovoltaics example for you. These are all native plants that are being grown. These were plants that were selected in conjunction with a partnership with local tribes, and the seeds were harvested by local tribes. And this is all grown without any irrigation, which I made them prove. So really fascinating as far as what is possible with no irrigation type systems from an ecovoltaic type standpoint. And then these two pictures on the right, these are from a elementary school site. You can see both of these structures are a lot like carport solar. These are static, they're stationary, they don't track the sun, they don't move, and they're highly elevated. The school site is really fantastic. You can see the kids that are lined up along the fence, and there are some young adults that are there. These are actually university students who are here to teach different science concepts to the youth, and they are growing some culturally important plants and produce here, and that electricity goes to the school to offset their utility bills. Next slide, please. This is outside of Tucson. This is part of University of Arizona also. You can see a very, very different structure here. I got there just as they had changed out their research plots and just had replanted. So the plants are pretty small, but you can see kind of the difference in the structures. And certainly across all these photos, you're going to see the scalability of them as well. And they have some education and information boards that were there within the project. Next slide, please. This is the Oregon State University site in Aurora, Oregon. You can see on the left, gives you a little perspective, not too highly elevated, right? These are about 5 feet. These are tracking systems. These do rotate and follow the sun. This particular location was developed from the perspective of a farmer. And so they did everything based off of the budget of a farmer. Parts of this project are dry farming, which you can see there in the top right, where they're growing squash. You can also see some farmers in the background there with their trucks. So these are designed to be wide enough to allow their tractors and equipment to be able to drive between them. So there's a misunderstanding frequently. The equipment does not need to go under, so they don't need to be. These systems do not need to be so highly elevated that the equipment can go under. They just need to go between, because these solar panels do move and track. Next slide, please. This is a site outside of San Luis Obispo, or in San Luis Obispo, just off of the campus, the CSU campus there. It's a 4.5 megawatt project, and they grow forage and graze their university sheep herd here. They use no mowers. It is all grazed by sheep. And this site definitely had the strongest grazing management program that I had an opportunity to see on my trip. Next slide, please. Now, this is the one utility scale site that I visited. This is a 550 megawatt project in California. They have 9 million solar panels on this project. They dry farm. They do not irrigate the forage crop. And they do graze 6,000 head of sheep annually here on the site. And I did feel like their grazing management plan did need some work, but I think what was important takeaway for me in my learning was that it showed what was possible. And they integrated some incredibly strong wildlife conservation programming within this site. You can see that fence there. They've 11 different field arrays. You can see that from the picture, the top left of the Google Maps. And so all of those arrays are fenced separately. They're fenced with that fence picture that has the gap at the bottom, which allows for the kit fox entry into the arrays, but it keeps the coyotes and predators out. They also had a burrowing owl conservation program inside of the arrays. And what was neat about how they fenced and designed the arrays was to allow for the migration of the elk and the pronghorn between and those fenced arrays. Next slide, please. This is a site I visited in Colorado. This is a farmer-owned installation. They have, I think they have the family farm, I think it's about 100 acres that they have of alfalfa and other types of grasses that they grow for forage. And they took 5 acres to dedicate to Jack's Solar Garden project. And they grow row crops. You can see on the right, you can see there's a farmer there in the distance. And you can see on the left the sections where they have forage and they demonstrate grazing both with sheep and cattle. And this is really exciting. That's something that has really changed, I think, with the industries knowing over the last 5 years that I've been working on this, is that cattle do well under the solar panels as well. Next slide, please. And here is the part that kind of got me excited, thinking about finding value for our community members, finding value in projects like this. So this is Jack's Solar Garden still in Colorado. And so just like we think about agritourism, this is in essence agrivoltaics tourism. And they designed this project in a way that would allow for a lot of public use and social use. They have an incredible amount of community support for this project. It's a venue for corporate events and weddings. They have outdoor music and they have exercise classes and art classes and all sorts of different performance and a lot of public education, which I think is really important. They also have a really neat partnership program that has both a beginning farmer education piece and also partners with the food bank to get their food onto local tables. Next slide, please. And so, obviously I came back from this tour really excited and wanting to, as a teacher and a researcher, to do research, right, under some panels and quickly found out that there are no agrivoltaic locations here in Nevada. There's over 666 known agrivoltaic locations across the United States, but none here in Nevada. And so that has been, my contributing portion to this, which is just educating communities across Nevada that this is an option that's available to them as an alternative to conventional solar, or to supplement your conventional solar projects across your jurisdictions. Next slide, please. This is just a picture of I travel a lot and I do boothing and we'll go into schools and provide agrivoltaics education. This is a little traveling board model that I have that I take with me. But I hope that you have found this interesting, this concept, and has sparked your curiosity. If you have questions, I am definitely open to those. Any members of the public who are listening that would like for me to bring in an agrivoltaics presentation to your own organizations or to your kids' school, that's something that I'm available to do. And just kind of reflecting as to, what kind of potential benefits this might bring to Nevada or your county specifically, and does this reflect on your community's values? Would it help to address challenges that you or your community are facing, or does it help to support your own county energy or agricultural goals? So thank you so much for your time. On the next slide, yes, there we go. You can see my contact email is there, you're welcome to contact me anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to go to Commissioner Jacobson and then to Commissioner Hockaday with some questions.
Thank you. There, Ms. Allen, you are a wonderful educator. I hope there's no quiz here. This is Commissioner Jacobson, and I really enjoyed your presentation. So I noticed like some of the Willamette Valley and some of these other places are probably more reliant on rainfall than here in Nevada. So in Nye County, are you looking at doing some, I don't know if it'd be flood, drip, or sprinkler type agro
Voltaics. Yeah.
in Nye County?
Yeah, so I'm so glad that you asked this question because I neglected, I omitted this from the presentation, which is the literature and the researchers. There's overwhelming evidence that researchers believe the agrivoltaic sites are actually best sited in arid and semi-arid areas like Nevada because of the water saving component. And so yes, I think that there's multiple ways that irrigation could be applied to these. Drip is the most common that I saw. So there were two, right? There were two that I saw, the drip irrigation for those that were irrigated, and then there was the dry farming. So with these that do integrate dry farming, obviously their production levels are much lower, right? And so there's this kind of trade-off of when we're adding that solar and it could be most beneficial in areas like I'm thinking Diamond Valley and Eureka, where many of the producers there are facing issues with water right retirements and questions of how do they keep their agricultural fields in production in the face of water scarcity. And agrivoltaics and ecovoltaics, I think, are two potential ways to do that. The production, I would anticipate, but we don't know because we haven't conducted the research. We don't have sites to be able to conduct this research. But I would assume that the production would be lower, right? But you'd be able to retain those ag lands in production. And yeah, which is important for multiple different reasons, right? You don't want that land to become a burden, and the natural resources issue as far as weeds and rodents and things like that, which would impact the neighboring agricultural lands.
It's been argued by some that the fire dangers are a reason not to build these solar fields. How do you handle those types of concerns?
Yeah, so those are concerns that I think have been demonstrated in other communities, and so certainly the irrigation piece in those areas where things can be irrigated, obviously that becomes much less of a fire hazard, right? But still, that management of the vegetation is important. And so that sheep grazing, and we've seen that in other types of field areas and other states that utilize goats and sheep for fire mitigation, I think could be utilized in the same way under these sites and within these systems.
Thank you again, and I want to thank Tammy for bringing this forward, but it was a very enjoyable presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
Commissioner Hockaday.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It's very interesting. A couple of years ago, I ran across the agrivoltaic and looked into it. But they also projected in that article that I read the first time was that we're looking at 3 to 4 million acres of land across the country being taken over by solar. And that was a very big concern because it's hard to eat solar panels. We do definitely need the ag land, and that's of course the land that is being purchased in most cases for the solar panels. Many times when the land is sold, then the water rights are sold off. The companies keep just enough to clean their panels. So in looking at this, I would hope that the agrivoltaic will take off and that water rights will be retained on the agricultural land and that they can go ahead and use these ideas to continue to produce either livestock or vegetables and produce such as that. So I appreciate your concern and your education across the different states and letting them know that this is an option and that these companies need to be considering this so that we can maintain our agricultural base in our rural areas, because we are getting a lot of companies that are very interested in buying up parts of Lyon County that happen to be in agricultural production currently. And of course, my district is mostly rural and ag. So I'm very concerned about the situation that could occur by eliminating this agricultural property and also the water rights. So thanks again.
Commissioner Casanelli.
Thank you, Chair Keller. Castanelli for the record. Just curious if there is any data. Obviously, the structure on the construction of these is much more substantial than the standard arrays. But is there any data on what that percentage of costs or increases to construct these versus the traditional?
Yeah, and that does change, right, as the market changes. But I could absolutely get some data to you. So yes, the infrastructure that must be installed with these is more significant. So that is one of the trade-offs, right? So that's a word that I use a lot in talking about these systems. Is there's trade-offs. So you have this trade-off in the beginning for the you're using more steel. So one of the great things that I think is important to mention is there is not concrete, very much concrete that's utilized. These are all pile-driven steel beams that are driven into the ground. Some 6 to 7 feet, depending on the height of the installation above ground. So that definitely costs more. And to answer your question, yes, I do have some research articles that I could share with you to give some dollar amount price differences, if you'd like for me to send those.
Sure, yeah, I'm just curious on if there's like an average percentage cost increase, because it's obviously a much more substantial structure required on this, but I appreciate the presentation.
Yeah, I would say anecdotally from some of the designers that I've talked to, it's 25 to 50%. But that's anecdotal, and so I'd rather be able to provide some of the data, and that's part of what we've been missing, which makes this kind of challenging. Is that a lot of this information is kept is not publicly available from the developers themselves, and so in the absence of research, some of this is anecdotal.
Thank you.
I'm going to step out of order here a little bit and go ahead and get my questions out there. Thank you very much for your presentation. I enjoyed it a lot, but it brings up more questions for me. So maybe help me further my education a little bit here. A lot of our crops are hay, alfalfa, and onions. And in the thought of preserving our farmland, are you seeing where they are switching the style of crops that they have, the type of crops? And are they to keep the land in good health? I don't know if they have the right equipment to do that, or are there obstacles with that you're aware of, or have you seen that to where they're changing?
Yeah, of course. And I think anytime an ag producer changes their crops, obviously that affects everything, and including their operations, their daily operations and management, and then how they plan their activities for the year. So yes, this would be no different. What could they what could they keep? And so that's kind of one of the interesting things about agrivoltaics is everyone's doing it a little bit differently because they're coming at this with a different priority. And so looking at this through the lens of a producer, I would definitely suggest that they plan and design this based off of what is important that they retain, right? So if it's their equipment, right, because that's an expensive investment, that then things like the space between the rows could be designed based off of what equipment they plan to use, and also everything from including people talk about sheep and which breed to use, and a lot of it comes down to what you have to work with them every day. What behaviors and temperaments and things like that do you want to work with? And so there's a lot of flexibility in that, which I know can be kind of overwhelming for folks because then that's not kind of this standard answer. But I think the strength in the adaptability of these systems is that it can be adapted not only in location and environment, but also by agricultural producer preferences.
Thank you. And when we going back to cattle agrivoltaics, because they're elevated because of the cattle of what at least the people that I've talked to, are you still getting adequate sun to keep enough grazeland, or are they losing some of that crop?
So definitely there is shading that's occurring. And in places, so it depends on whether that's a good thing or not for your crop. So it depends on the crop. It also depends on how weather patterns are changing. So in some areas where they've been growing a particular crop well, but there have been changes in weather patterns and heat, and to where now they're struggling, right? Those crops are under heat stress and sun stress. The addition of solar could help them, potentially retain that crop in production by providing that that filtered shade. In addition, technology has just been changing rapidly with solar. So there are different types of panels that folks can purchase and design into their system. So they could have semi-transparent panels that would allow some sun filtration if that's what their crops need.
So I was more going on BLM land. That was because we've got grazing rights that are out there, allocations, and I was just wondering if it reduces the amount to the farmer. I mean the cattle. How many?
Oh, that's that. Yeah, those animal units for those grazing permits. Yeah, that's a really interesting question and something that I am incredibly interested in, and something that I would say other states, particularly a lot of agrivoltaics has been happening on the eastern half of the United States where there aren't as many public lands, and really looking to us on the western side as to how we're going to be integrating this, because this is one of my questions as a researcher that I have is could the addition of solar actually help improve the grazelands, our rangelands, to be able to support additional animal units? But it could be this what you're mentioning. It could be the opposite question: is would this reduce the forage production and the ability to sustain those existing animal units? But my thought, based off of conversations with farmers, is where there's shade, there has a tendency to be more growth. But interesting questions. You and I are thinking along the same lines.
Well, I'm also looking at a lot of people think that you can have less of an allocation on some land, and then they're okay, they're just going to have less cattle. But at the same time, they might lose their cattle company because they have to have so much to make it work. So any slight reduction could kill the whole operation, and that's why I was going with that, just for knowledge. So if you hear anything, please let me know. And I had one more that I wanted to talk to you about. Have you seen anybody doing some I guess, canopy, solar over the irrigation districts. Are the irrigation districts, leasing out the land for that to where, because they already have the land, it would preserve the water? And, I just wondering if you ran into any of that.
Yeah, so great question too, because I was thinking about this also, potentially being so that's another example of dual use. And yes, I have seen that in California, but not here in Nevada. And if that's something that you would like more information on, I know an engineer who has been working on these types of projects in California, and could certainly make connections.
Yeah, I was just curious if you ran into it at all, because to me, it's the people that are using the irrigation district. You could, by leasing it, you could lower the cost for the irrigation district, and at the same time, preserve the amount of water here in Nevada, and I think that's critical. So I just wanted to know if you've ran across it yet. Here.
Not here.
I think that's all I have. Thank you again. I'm going to go to Commissioner Hendricks.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you for this presentation. I've had the opportunity to learn quite a bit from you, and I really wanted the rest of the board to have that same opportunity. So I really appreciate you coming in and showing us that it doesn't always have to be an either or, that agriculture and solar can coexist and do so successfully. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to number 7. Commissioners, county managers reports. We'll start on the right. Commissioner.
Public comment.
It's just a presentation.
Oh, okay.
So starting off with Commissioner Hockaday.
Reports. Speaking of water and things such as that, the conservation districts met, had the Mason Valley Conservation District, and unfortunately, because of agriculture, many of the members were unable to make the Mason Valley Conservation District meeting. Lack of a quorum, we had to cancel that and postpone it to Tuesday, which I'll talk about that in a minute. Of course, we had the GID meeting with the commission. Met with the Smith Valley 4th of July committee. Things are moving along properly for that. We will have fireworks in Smith Valley on the 3rd, Friday night, the 3rd of July. And then we did have the combined conservation district meeting with Smith Valley and Mason Valley, and covered a lot of information on that. And luckily, we were able to have people call in while they're out with their cattle and working their fields. So we were able to get phone calls in on and get a quorum going for both organizations. Had a meeting with the Smith Valley Historical Society and discussing some of the events that are coming up in Smith Valley. And I understand that Yerington is working their issue for fireworks, and I believe they're going to have theirs on the 4th. If I'm not mistaken. So those people in the south end of the county will have a couple of nights when they can watch fireworks if they'd like to for the 250th anniversary.
Thank you, Commissioner Casanelli.
Thank you. Attended the Fleet Data Center groundbreaking out at the tract property in the Trick. Was well attended, including the governor. It's a very large site. Back up in a canyon, and really hard to see it unless you're standing right on top of it. Attended the ribbon cutting for improvements at Governor's Field in Carson City. Attended the ribbon cutting for the new 7-Eleven in Silver Springs, another one that was very well attended. And I've heard that it is one of the top performing new opens for their stores in the country. So very robust sales going on, which is good to hear. Attended a ribbon cutting for the new Equipment Share store in Mound House, which is rentals and sales of construction equipment. Took a tour of the Mark IV Victory Logistics site in Fernley. Another one that's very impressive site. Looks like they're getting ready to cut into the Union Pacific Railroad line to put the switch in there. Attended the Lyon County Planning Commission on Zoom. Met with representatives of the Northern Nevada Industrial Center. Met with the director of the governor's office of economic development. Met with a group of developer and builder representatives regarding Dayton area. Attended the NNDA board meeting, attended the Campo board meeting, and we at the Campo we approved the consulting engineer's contract for the study on the East Dayton Bridge. It was awarded to Moffitt and Nickel, and it's going to be commencing and expected to take about 16 to 18 months. But that is underway. Attended the Silver City Advisory Board. They've got some additional art pieces that they're going to be looking to add in the park. So probably be an agenda request coming forward on similar to the mural that they did. Attended the Dayton Advisory Board. Attended the Student Farmers Market by the Green Hour Planet, which is a real interesting program. I had no idea that we had this going on in Lyon County. It is in 16 of the 17 counties in the state and over 300 schools. It's a hydroponics program where the kids students are growing food, and then they turn around and sell it in farmers market. And the Riverview Elementary School in Dayton will be one of the first schools that will get an AI teaching assistant for that program, which will be coming online real soon. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Hendricks.
I too attended the 7-Eleven ribbon cutting. I know the community in Silver Springs is really happy to have another business there. Attended the Planning Commission by Zoom, and last night I attended the Carson Water Subconservancy District Board meeting, and we're in our strategic planning process right now. We're starting that. Attended another Rural Energy Academy session, and that will be coming to an end pretty soon. And also have been working on and submitted an interim resolution to the NACO Public Land Steering Committee, trying to work towards getting revenue sharing for all commercial development on public lands.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you. I missed the grand opening of 7-Eleven, but I did swing in there just to check it out. I've been getting phone calls, and I say phone calls 3, that the county was dragging their feet on the grand opening and the opening of that store. And I asked, and that was not the case. So I'm glad it's open, and it was busy. Want to thank Taylor Allison and Andrew Haskin. We went into a very productive meeting in Reno. I want to thank them for their time. Attended the Nevada Works Board meeting. I attended the Planning Commission via Zoom. I had our quarterly Rural Boys and Girls Club meeting with Winmarket, Lovelock, and Ely. Attended our last meeting here with North Lyon County Power General Improvement District. That was very interesting. The City of Fernley Code Enforcement Workshop was very well attended. They're trying to work out some kinks through that. They have, I believe, 2 more meetings scheduled. Attended the City of Fernley council meeting last night. Want to thank UNR, kind of their traveling road show through rural communities. Coaches, athletes, administrators from UNR showed up 2 great big buses to the Boys and Girls Club. High energy. It was a great visit. want to congratulate, and I hope I don't miss any of the teams. Smith Valley boys baseball was state runner-up. Fernley girls fell in the state tournament. Unington boys and girls made state as well. Smith Valley girls played in the state tournament. So just want to congratulate those athletes and making it to state. Although I don't believe Lyon County had any state champions, but and then of course track. I'm not sure if on all that individual stuff, but good job to those kids for participating. And that is all I have.
Thank you. I attended the planning commission, Burnley City Council last night. Basically the budget was what I was really interested in. They walked through that. Attended the Rural Energy Academy. Again, that's just about to finish up. National Association of Counties Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee meeting. And on that one, we were talking mostly about soil health, and that may mostly because of the loss of soil in the Midwest, but it also enhanced the importance of soil health in reducing risk and enhancing resilience, citing the Land Corps risk model project, which qualifies the benefits of soil health practices like cover crops and reduced tillage. Using remote sensing data to access crop yield and revenue risks. They also discussed federal policy opportunities, including a proposal to incentivize soil health practices and crop insurance, aiming to reduce risk and improve farm resilience. So on that, they're using all the data now that it's all remote data. And that goes back to, we keep looking at why are they needing just not AI for these data centers and stuff, but all our farmlands now are using that remote stuff. So it's just adding to the increase of needing data centers. It's amazing how much we use I guess what word am I looking for? We're depending on data centers, because I was even looking up that yoga mats have need for data center stored information. So it's just like anything we want to make simpler in our life, the technology's there, and I just puts more. Also, there's a new Build America 250 Act that's up before Congress right now. And it includes a bridge formula program. Funding jumps from 5.5 billion to 9 billion per year, and includes a new 25% set aside for local owned bridges. This is a major increase in federal funding for county owned bridges and a majority victory for counties nationwide. The bill expands high flexibility surface transportation block grant program, which suballocates a certain share of funds to regionally for use on locally identified projects. The Safe Streets and Roads for All SS4A grant program is preserved, continuing a successful grant program that is designed for counties and other local governments. I noticed that Fernley's reapplying for some of those right now. We talked about it last night. The Protect Grant program is preserved, a top priority for counties on the front lines of disaster resilience and climate-related infrastructure challenges. Estimates show that the counties and other local governments would have access to 22% of funding in the bill through formula set-asides, suballocations, and discretionary grant opportunities. It's a strong outcome that reflects years of advocacy for a greater local share. We're moving more toward having direct payments or direct access to the counties and not feeding it through the state level. So that's a big thing for us, and it's going through final markup today. So hopefully we can see some movement on that. Commissioner Haskin. County manager, excuse me.
I know what the non-county manager. Thanks for bringing the Build America 250 Act to my attention. I had not heard of that yet. And I'll certainly be taking a look at that on the bridge component. As we're taking a look at some funding there. Not much for the group today. Just want to mention that I have been working on the lands bill, and that piece I hope to bring, I'm going to be bringing the resolution back to the board for the first meeting in June. We have the maps finalized here internally, and so I will be presenting that to the board Not a whole lot of change, but want to make sure that I bring that back and we get a new resolution going for that. I have shared the draft of the map with Congressman Amadei's office, so that we can hopefully get the ball rolling on that. Other than that, I just want to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day.
Any questions for the county manager? Thank you very much. Move on to elected officials reports. Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to appointed officials reports.
Good morning, Commissioners. Gavin Henderson, Lyon County Community Development Director for the record. So today we just wanted to provide a report to give a little update on our 490 Cemetery Road cleanup, where we're at in the process. We have finalized it, so we'll just kind of walk you through where it's at, kind of the timeline, how we conducted operations in the month of April to get it to where the clean state it is today. And then go over some before and after pictures, because it was pretty intense cleanup. Took us about 10 months to get to this point. So we're glad to have this done and wanted to report that to the board. So background, so address, like we stated, 490 Cemetery Road, located west or at the dead end of Cemetery Road, north of US Highway 50. The complaint, so we were obviously getting complaints for large amounts of garbage, refuse, debris, habitation of RVs, trailers, and the erection of unpermitted structures. Also wanted to point out that during our research, it came to our attention that there were 32 service calls in the area between the year of 2022 and 2025, and that's split between Central Lyon Fire Protection District, Lyon County Sheriff's Office. So a lot of activity up there. Again, glad to see it gone. Moving forward, so the timeline. So we initial outreach to the property owner was in June 2025. We had a virtual meeting with the property owner November of 2025, and then April was our big month where the property owner was able to finalize that contract with the contractor to initiate the cleanup, and then the cleanup took about 10 days. So on April 29th, that finished. There's a pretty large gap between months. We were working with an out-of-state property owner to schedule meetings. There were multiple property owners involved, so it took a little time to get those meetings scheduled between June and November. And then from November, once they got their marching orders from us to April, the property owners were conducting their own soliciting process, trying to get bids for the contractors and find I guess the cheapest one for them to get the work done on the site that we were looking for to get completed. So that's just the general timeline there. Cleanup and remediation efforts. So this kind of walks through the month of April for us. So April 13th, we had a multi-agency coordination meeting. So that involved Sheriff's Office, Human Services, Code Enforcement. And the goal of the meeting was just to kind of get our ducks in the row, make sure we're making the appropriate steps moving forward the property. We'll get in touch a little later in the slide, but they're great partnerships. Lyon County staff's amazing to get to this point. April 16th, so then Lyon County Code Enforcement and Sheriff's Office conducted a formal posting and personal service of the notices to vacate. The trespass order established a 48-hour term for the individuals to vacate the property. This was, of course, done through the property owner. So the trespass order was executed by the property owner on April 18th. So upon completion of that 48-hour notice, which ended up being 2 p.m. on a Saturday, deputies responded to the site to trespass remaining individuals. We're happy to inform the board that there were no arrests, significant disturbances or use of force reported. So everyone left on the property left voluntarily, which was good. And then April 19th, the cleanup started, and then, like I said before, it took about 10 days, and then the property has since then been cleaned up. Summary of the debris removed. So we property owner removed 17 vehicles, 12 RVs, 2 unpermitted stick-built structures. It took about 13 30-yard dumpsters. Those were provided through our franchise agreement with Waste Management. So again, a great partner to have during this process. Total waste volume was approximated at 390 cubic yards. We estimated the weight to be about 97 tons and then the scrap metal to be about 35 tons. And then a little, a note on the bottom, just to put this in maybe a better context, give you a visual representation. So if you took up all the garbage collected on site and spread it across the football field, it'd be about 2.5 inches deep, worth material up there. So pretty significant. Agency collaboration. So again, this was everyone, all the departments involved in the process. Huge shout out to everyone on the screen here, Sheriff's Office, our code enforcement staff, Joseph Sanchez, Central Lyon Fire Protection District, Lyon County Human Services, and Waste Management. Took a team effort to get here. I'm happy to have all these departments that are backing when we go to try to enact these cleanups. And then we just get into some pictures. So this is kind of aerial image taken from our GIS system, so you can kind of see just the vast amount of debris we have on the site, the vehicles. Moving forward, we kind of get into on-field pictures. Again, RVs, lots of trash, propane tanks, scrap metal, just an accumulation of anything and everything on site. And then we can kind of cycle through these, kind of just give you a broad picture of what we were dealing with for the site. Abandoned vehicles. Some of the stick-built structures were built into the hillside, so pretty neat there as well. Yeah, just a large amount of anything and everything, like I said. And then cleanup. So as of today, this is how the property sits. Everything's been removed. There may be small amounts of trash remaining, like paper or stuff like that. That maybe take us months to kind of pick through and clean up entirely. But yeah, successful cleanup for us, and huge shout out to everyone involved in the process. 10 months is a long time to get to this point, but glad we're able to, and not have to bring it forward as a public nuisance to the board, because that's just a time intensive process. It does sometimes involve the county committing some funds to cleaning up the property ourselves. So happy to be at this stage. And that's all I have for the board.
I did have one question for you, because I know the wind blows, but I don't think it blew it all up there.
Yeah.
So how did it get up there? And is this part of I know in the past, people were going out and cleaning up other properties for funds, for drugs or alcohol or whatever they needed, and then they'd go dump it into a place like this, so they wouldn't have to pay for the dump fees. Is that what happened here?
So our understanding is it was a homeless encampment, so a lot of that traffic was getting up there. It's kind of tucked away back behind the water tower, still out of sight, out of mind, I would assume in their minds. So that's where a lot of that debris is coming from. A lot of the RVs are being lived in. At any point in time, there was about 30 to 50 individuals up there. So depending on the day and the interactiveness between the individuals, if you go and knock on a camper, you may hear some rustling around, but nobody come out to talk to you to verify numbers. But our estimates were probably around 30 to 50 people, depending on the day. Who knows where the garbage came from? It could have been, some of it could have been illegal dumping, but our assessment, most of it is from the homeless activity.
I've also noticed that when we do clean up someplace, once we're out, we're done, it seems to come back in.
Right.
And so is there any
We did put
procedures?
that burden on the property owner. We did say that we're gonna, monitor the situation, and it was on them to limit access as legally allowed. There's some easements up there from NV Energy. We obviously have the water tower up there, so we want to maintain access to those facilities. But it is an open piece of land, so if people are trying to get in there,
Just keep our eyes
there's a
on.
will, there's a way, but we're monitoring the property moving forward.
Yeah, go to my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for the work getting that cleaned up, and it's amazing how much time it takes. So if I'm driving on the road and I pitch out a pop can, I could get probably upwards, sheriff may know, $100 fine. 100. All right. So these cats are leaving, they left voluntarily, but they also voluntarily left a huge mess. Is there a way we can no trespass them from Lyon County as in lieu of a fine? So I get fined $100. I pay it. Hopefully I learn my lesson. These folks, if a pop can is $100, how much, what's the fine for this? is there a way we can no trespass people from Lyon County? And I don't know, maybe that's a DA question, maybe, but I mean, I would love to see if there's something that we can do as a board to no trespass people that trash our communities like this. They have no stake, pay no taxes, they don't bring anything to our community except dumping and making a filthy mess and leaving the county or someone else to pay for it. I would love if we could do something like that. I'm not expecting an answer. I'm just speaking out loud. Or maybe something we can look into.
We'll look into it for sure.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner Castanelli.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank staff. I mean, this particular problem is in my district and very aware that received calls on it for years. I've gone through there in my own side by side and, looked at the problem. We've also had reports of around 30 to 40 people living there is what I had always heard. The root of the problem though, and I don't know how we address that, but we remember the issue we had on Hart Street. And I've heard, I can't say that it's true, but I've heard that the resident from Hart Street relocated up to this encampment and was living there. And I now have reports that some of those displaced homeless are now under the bridge there in Dayton. So yeah, I mean, I know that Health and Human Services was involved as well, but I mean, the root of the problem, we got some homeless there and now they're displaced and they're going to wind up somewhere else.
And we did, as part of our work with Human Services, we attempted to hand out a flyer, provide them a list of services that they could take advantage of at that time. But it's a matter of them pursuing that at the same time. But it's a constant problem for us too. It's just, you can kind of view it as kicking the can down the road a little bit as far as displacing people. We're dealing with that currently too. As far as them moving people out by the cemetery and now those people being relocated to county property, right? So it's a problem. We talked to other jurisdictions. The greatest tool seems to be they define it as harassment, right? Just keeping in contact with these individuals, keeping on them, and sooner or later they go to areas that may not be the jurisdictions. I wouldn't say problem, but situation they have to deal with.
Right. I know we discussed in the workshop some changes to the code enforcement process, but I think we need to try to figure out a way to hold these out-of-state property owners more accountable. I just at the Dayton Cab this week, we had reports of some issues with another site in Dayton. I think over off of V&T where it's consistent ATVs, motorcycles, and recreational use with the kids that creates dust and other issues, noise issues, and things within the residential area. And you can't reach the property owner to try to get the no trespass signs up. I mean, it's a problem. We need to try to put a little more teeth and hold those property owners more accountable.
And I would say the point of leverage that we had in this instance was the public nuisance scenario, right? Where you're not going to get away from the cost of the cleanup, even if the county did have to front some of the money to do the cleanup, that would be a lien from the property. So the cost would still be there. And that was kind of the eye-opening metric that made that property owner communicate more with staff and make more progressive efforts there.
So I guess it doesn't matter at this point. It's done, but was that particular property owner, was he uncooperative?
Usually with these larger cleanups, you start the communication process. It's kind of a point the finger, right? Why is it our responsibility? Well, you go through that channel of communication, and then you start discussing, code, where we can go in the process. There's two different options in this one. Was one, go and pursue the cleanup yourself, will help. In this case, we wanted to clean up It was a large nuisance for us. We received phone calls as well plenty of times during the week about it. So utilizing our franchise agreement with Waste Management to get dumpsters up there, to minimize some of the costs, to encourage the property owner to complete the cleanup there. So just trying to use the tools available to keep the property owner active with us and get the cleanup finished. That's why it took about 10 months, because we got it back and forth going, well, I don't think this is our responsibility. You guys, you knew this was happening, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you are the property owner, so it is your responsibility. So it's just communicating all the different avenues there we have. And with them, the understanding they're not on an island in that situation. We're here to help too. We all have an obligation to clean that up. We want to be a part of that process too. And like all the agencies on the screen were super helpful. And I don't know, Michelle wants to add some color to the situation. But yeah, that's kind of how we navigate the process. And it may take a little longer time than what seems reasonable, but at the end of the day, if we get it cleaned up, it's kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it's cleaned up, and thank you very much to staff for all your efforts on it.
Yeah.
Shayla Holmes, Lyon County Human Services Director. For the record, I just wanted to be available in case there were questions in regards to what services were provided and how frequently we were up there. This particular property, I think, exceeds the 10 months that Gavin had mentioned. It was definitely an issue. For the last several years, we've been active in going up there, offering our services, which really is an assessment to identify what are they eligible for in the area, what can we get them connected to now, and how long can we stay connected to them in regards to seeing them through to housing options. Very few individuals up at that property were interested in doing that. However, over the years, we were successful with some. There were absolutely families up there, some individuals living with children. We were successful with many of those folks, getting them down off of that hill and into longer term, low income housing options. That stuff takes so much time and so much effort, but we're always willing to put it in. I can also say that we have started a homeless task force in partnership with the Sheriff's Department, Code Enforcement, Lyon County Human Services, Rural Nevada Counseling. We're meeting regularly and identifying these new properties. They're going to keep happening, unfortunately, and we're reactive to the situation. So as these properties become identified, we're going out and doing our best to do outreach with information, how you can connect to us. We're willing to go out and do the legwork with them. And we're doing that for a period of time until it becomes an issue that the government has to address through community development and code enforcement and any other private property situations. But at least we're getting out as they're being identified, trying to connect folks as early as possible to options available to them. And then ultimately it's up to the individual on whether or not they want to make that change or they want to continue down that path. But I just wanted to provide that to you guys, that we are doing that preventative work to the best of our ability and connecting those interested in change to those services.
Do you have, on that task force, do you have the DA involved too?
I don't think we have the DA currently participating. We can resend that invite, but we do have the Sheriff's Department, Code Enforcement, and a couple of other nonprofits.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Gavin? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other appointed officials reports? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to advisory board reports. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and go to a break till 10:35. We're in recess. Yeah, I'd like to bring it back to order. We're at number 11, consent agenda. Action will be taken on all items. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Directors as one action and without an extensive hearing. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed, and acted upon separately during this meeting. Does anybody want to pull an item?
Chair, if we could pull 11D. As in dog.
Any other requests from the board? Any requests from the public? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda items 11A through 11F and pull 11D.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hockaday, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes 5-0. We'll go on to 11D for possible action, accept a FFY 2025 Emergency Management Performance Grant Award from the Nevada Office of Emergency Management in the amount of $53,239.65 for salaries and supplies with a county match of $53,239.65 and to allow emergency manager to sign the grant award.
Just, thank you, Chair. Just real quick, the money for salaries is this, and I've looked through the packet, but just for the public record. Anytime we're always leery of assigning salaries to grants because grants go away and positions stay. So could you just share with us how the salary part works into this?
You bet. Taylor Allison, Lyon County Emergency Management Gov Affairs for the record. For this particular grant, I think I reported recently that we are in the rears with payments from FEMA. As soon as DHS reopened, they were able to release the hold on federal fiscal year 25, which impacts October 1, 2024 through September 30th, 2025 salaries. It was built into the budget to receive these grant awards and make our program whole and help support our emergency management program analyst position. So this is one of those, I've worked on a number of grants, HHS grants, DOJ grants. One of the only ones where they pay you after it's already been spent. So definitely something to consider if we want to continue with this funding moving forward. They're currently negotiating the fiscal year that we're in at the Congress level for salaries.
That's all I was curious about. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any public comment on this item?
With that, Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve consent agenda item 11D as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. This brings us back to number 12 on the regular agenda for possible 12A for possible action, accept the donation of a 2007 Pace Utility 8-foot by 20-foot enclosed mass casualty incident MCI response trailer and associated supplies from the state of Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health Public Health Preparedness Program. Authorize the emergency manager to execute all necessary transfer documentation and approve the addition of the trailer to the Lyon County Fleet Inventory. Emergency Manager Taylor Allison.
Again, Taylor Allison, Lyon County Emergency Management for the record. The state of Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health is abandoning this program, which was created years ago to stage these critical resources in our rural communities. They are changing the priorities for their grant funding, but we didn't want to lose this asset. So it's here before you today to assume the physical enclosed trailer as well as the consumable medical supplies, which we will be able to maintain through the Quad County Public Health Preparedness Funds that we delegate authority to Carson City. And so far, all of that will be able to be maintained minus the maintenance by adding it to our fleet.
Any questions or comments from the board? Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to accept the donation of a 2007 Pace Utility 8x20 enclosed mass casualty incident response trailer and associated supplies from the state of Nevada Division of Public and Behavioral Health Public Health Preparedness Program and authorize the emergency manager to execute all necessary transfer documentation and approve the addition of the trailer to the Lyon County Fleet Inventory.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Brings to number 14, Comptroller. 14A for possible action, approve a revision to policy 2-4, grants to update the federal de minimis indirect cost rate. Comptroller Josh Foley.
Josh Feuerlein, County Comptroller for the record. I just want to see if you could read all of that. That's a mouthful. They increased at the federal level the amount that we can use for indirect costs for overhead administrative costs that don't work directly on grants. So this is just changing our policy to match the federal allowed de minimis rate.
Any comments from the board or questions? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none in the room, bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to approve a revision to policy 2-4 grants to update the federal de minimis indirect cost rate.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hockaday, seconded by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 14B for possible action, approve the Lyon County debt management policy and capital improvement plan for 2026-2027. Comptroller Jeff Foley.
Yes, we are not proposing to issue any debt this upcoming year. This is a requirement because we do have existing debt to do one of these each year. And so we put in the amortization schedules and what our debt limits are by statute into that. And then there's a 5-year capital improvement plan that's attached. First year matches the budget that you just adopted earlier in the meeting.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any public comment? Seeing none in the room, online, bring back to the board for a motion.
Chair Keller, I'll make a motion to approve the Lyon County Debt Management Policy and Capital Improvement Plan for 2026 to 2027.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. For possible action, approve a 4-year contract between Axon Enterprises and Lyon County Juvenile Probation in the amount of $82,272.95 for body cameras and tasers for the Juvenile Prevention Department. Comptroller Josh Foley.
So this item takes 2 existing contracts that have been previously approved by the Board of County Commissioners. There's a taser contract and there's a separate contract for body cameras. Same company, combines them together so we get some cost savings by doing that. There was some public comment earlier today about the need for tasers if those are needed. Unfortunately, in today's environment, there are times when our juvenile probation officers may face juveniles that have weapons like knives, potentially guns and those type of things. This allows that officer to de-escalate that situation without having to shoot the juvenile and question at the time.
Commissioner Jacobson.
And this may be for Sheriff Pope, thank you, Chair, but I'm assuming that sometimes when all hands are on deck and the juvenile probation officer is there, do they back up police officers as well?
Yes, my understanding is that is correct. They do back them up. And in addition, if there's a school shooting, you have the juvenile probation officer that responds to that or may be in the school for that as well.
And I'm guessing some of our juvenile probation officers have kids at home.
Yes, they do.
Is it fair to say that they're free to make it home safely each and every night to their family?
I would agree with that.
I would totally agree with that.
Any other comment?
Yeah.
Commissioner Hockaday.
I'm very much in agreement with this because I have been tased in training. I'd rather be tased than shot. I'd rather be tased than beat up. I'd rather be tased than hit with a nightstick. There makes a lot of sense to be able to do a non-lethal rather than get a probation officer or any other law enforcement officer injured when they shouldn't be injured. I worked with continuation school, high school, and I've had people that are a foot taller than me, that are kids, that I wouldn't want to have done anything physical with them, where they've stood face to face with me, and you just basically have to stand your ground. Would have liked to have had a taser, even pepper spray. but I have a definite feeling that these probation officers are seeing a lot tougher people than we might see in the standard school, because these kids have had some problems. May not be their fault. They've had problems, but we need to have people that can defend themselves. And as Commissioner Jacobson said, be able to go home at the end of the day. That's the important issue here.
Any other comments?
I just make a quick comment that my construction company just did a small project in the front entry of the Carson City JPO. And just in my limited time that I was on the site, I can assure you that every one of those JPO officers that walked past me not only had a pistol, but a taser. And I would absolutely agree that this is necessary for their safety.
Any other comment from the board?
And another thing too is, these juvenile kids that have a juvenile probation officer also have parents. And sometimes those parents are the reason their kid may have a juvenile probation. And so when they're meeting with the juvenile probation kid or whatever, the kid may not be the problem. It might be their parent. And that's where the taser may come in handy. There's a lot of factors that go into the safety of all officers. So.
Okay, we're going to go on to public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll go on back to the board for a motion.
To approve a 4-year contract between Axon Enterprise and Lyon County Juvenile Probation in the amount of $82,272.95 for body cameras and tasers for the Juvenile Probation Department.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hockaday, second by Commissioner Jacobson. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Bring it back to number 15, Advisory Board for possible action. Acknowledge the resignation of Katie Baker from the Planning Commission, County Manager Andrew Haskin. Katie Baker resignation.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. Katie Baker recently accepted a position with Lyon County. We're happy to have her here, but as a result, she had to step off of the Planning Commission. So I want to thank her for her time on the Planning Commission. Happy to answer any questions if the board has them.
Any questions or comments? Commissioner Hendricks.
I'd just like to thank her for that. I know before that she served on as chair of the Silver Springs Advisory Board, so she's been very active in her community. I thank her for that.
Commissioner, I would second that and also welcome her to working at Lyon County. That sounds like a great pickup.
Any other comments?
Ditto that.
Okay, any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back for a motion.
Move to acknowledge the resignation of Katie Baker from the Planning Commission.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. For 15B for possible action, review the continued membership of Jerry Colwell as board member of the Central Lyon County Vector Control District Advisory Board pursuant to Article 3 of the Advisory Board bylaws and Lyon County Code Section 3.01.04. Mr. Colwell has missed several meetings and the county has not been able to make contact with him, and Mr. Colwell has not had any contact with the Central Lyon County Vector District Advisory Board or county staff. Board action may include, but not limited to, removal, suspension, reprimand, a correction period, or no action. Closed session may be held to consider character, alleged misconduct, professional competence, and physical and mental health pursuant to NRS 241.030. County Manager Andrew Haskin.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So the Central Lyon Vector Control Board sent me a letter of transmittal letting me know that they had not heard from Mr. Colwell since last year. He's missed over 7 meetings, and so at their board meeting, they voted to recommend the board or to forward the letter of transmittal to notify me and the board about his absences. Taking a look at the Citizen Advisory Board bylaws and handbook, the process is to bring it before the board for consideration. We did try to reach out independently too. Martha in my office had tried to reach out. We sent a couple of letters and have not heard back.
Any questions or Commissioner Jacobson?
Obviously, I'm not gonna look for a pound of flesh, but I will be in support of removal and moving forward and wish him well.
Any other comments? Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board for motion.
Move to remove Jerry Cole as board member of the Central Lyon County Vector Control District Advisory Board.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. That brings us to 16A for possible action. To discuss and provide direction to the county manager in regards to developing the bill draft resolution for the 2027 legislature and may include discussion or possible topics for a BDR, discussion direction to staff to research and come back with information related to possible BDR and input from the public on possible topics for a BDR. Board may direct staff to prepare a resolution and bring back to the board for further consideration. Emergency Management, Taylor Allison, or no, lobbyist.
For the record, Taylor Allison, Emergency Management Government Affairs Director. I apologize, I wasn't at the last meeting where we started having these conversations already. Can't believe we're already starting to discuss 2027 legislative session. So I did just put a couple brief slides together to help facilitate this conversation and discussion around where we're going, where we were last session. Quick update. I heard the questions related to where we landed with our bill that we moved forward through the 2025 session. So Senate Bill 53, which aimed to address road hazards and working with the GPS navigation providers to address challenges that we saw during the 2023 winter storms, as well as Miller and Ayazi and Ramsey Weeks, did not pass out of committee. There wasn't much of an appetite to move this type of legislation forward because it's a novel policy. There wasn't significant regulations or policies in other states. It's my understanding that some states are banding together along the Interstate 80 corridors. Western states are working together to take a look at this a little bit further. But it did open the doors for good conversations. We have developed great partnerships with the NDOT operations team on the emergency management side of the house. We have a secure group text messaging system that we used directly, which is a direct result of this policy that you opted to move forward. So I just want to thank you all for taking this to the legislature. They heard that we were having challenges and offered up support staff to work with us. So, for example, during the recent mudslides that happened on 80, which blocked traffic for a significant period of time into Fernley and USA Parkway, we have a direct line of communication into operations. How that used to work is we would go up to the state emergency management office. They'd go over to NDOT emergency management, back down to operations. It was just not efficient. So we're working there on communication. And then we're still continuing to work on the pilot with the Nevada 511 system and how we can update not only for road closures, but alternate routes and providing more consistent information. That data is fed to the private GPS navigation providers, which we hope will improve their system, but unfortunately, we don't have any way to control that. What it will do is integrate with our perimeter digital evacuation mapping system that we've adopted. So if we had to push out emergency evacuation zones and whatnot, getting 511 and our evacuation zone system to talk to each other is imperative. So we're making progress, and that's a long-winded update on where we're at with it. So just a quick reminder, I know we provided comprehensive updates throughout the session. Everyone was engaged in the session along the way, from the county commission level to department heads. But some themes that rose to the top during the 2025 session for your awareness. You know, the number one theme that we actively worked on in 2025 were impacts on economic development, abatements, impacts on county infrastructure. The child welfare and Medicaid assessments, we worked with Michelle Holmes, and impacts that has on not only fiscal impacts, but programmatic impacts on her department. Elections administration, government efficiency, preserving our local authority, reducing fiscal burdens, and public health, as well as public safety. So my office recently reached out to department heads. We're still collecting ideas for increasing efficiency in operations at the county level. But I did want to bring a couple ideas forward to start our list in identifying priorities. The first one is taking a look at how our child welfare assessments trickle down to the county level. So this one was brought forward by Dr. Holmes. The legislative challenge currently is that statute requires counties under 100,000 in population to pay an assessment to the Division of Child and Family Services for Child Protective Services. That current funding formula is set by the division and utilizes a population-based methodology. It's not based on utilization. So ultimately, Lyon County assumes a higher fiscal burden or higher cost burden, whether or not we have higher utilization rates or not. And other counties that may be lower in population but higher utilization may not be paying their fair share of the costs there. So a proposed solution would be working with DCFS as well as the other jurisdictions to update that formula to not only have a population-based methodology, but a blended statutory formula that incorporates both the certified population figures and actual DCFS caseload data, ensuring that the assessments kind of better reflect utilization. And I know Ms. Holmes is here if you had any questions about this particular topic or idea.
So I just wanted to ask what you do sit on, I don't know what it's called, but with the NACO, it's a different, not regular NACO, but the one that you sit on. Has there been any talk about this at NACO?
Shayla Holmes, Director, Lyon County Human Services, for the record. I have brought this forward to Amy Hines-Sutherland, Interim Director at NACO. I am hopeful that they will perhaps bring this forward as one of their BDRs. It has been discussed at the Nevada Association of County Human Service Administrators. It's a bit of a mouthful. It is a subsidiary of NACO, but its own freestanding organization. This isn't exactly popular. So Lyon County, this upcoming year, they're increasing our assessment to a little over $1 million. That's 300,000 more than the next closest county, which I believe is Elko. Some counties in this next year are looking to have their assessments go down while ours continues to rise. But when you do look at the DCFS utilization records at what they're mandated, what those costs are to cover, which is actual removals and assessments done by substantiated reports. If you look at, say, Elko or Carson City, their youth populations are significantly lower than ours. So they're paying 500 to 600,000 a year while we're getting ready to pay $1 million. And yet we are one of the few, if only, rural counties with an active children's services division proactively working with families to reduce DCFS involvement. Our utilization for the past 5 years since I've been tracking this, which I think is actually one of the first things Josh directed me to do in my first year under my directorship, was to go try to figure out how to reduce these assessments. And yet they just continue to rise. So we actually do have less utilization rates than Carson City and Elko, but under state demographer population, our percentage of youth is significantly higher. So we're paying several 100,000 more. So I think at this point in time, we know DCFS isn't willing to act and change it themselves. It is not exactly popular amongst all counties because right sizing this would require some of them to pay more. Which is why I'm hoping NACO could run with it, but I do think it's important that we have our eyes on it because it impacts us directly and significantly.
The only reason why I was wondering that is what our challenges are moving it forward, whether we
Yeah.
have to do it local or we can bring the support of the other counties.
Yeah, some of the stuff that Amy and I have been talking about is if she could get it to be shifted from the population of the state demographer and be shifted to some of the other population data that is used in other parts of statute, that would change it slightly to where we're not paying as much more. But also figuring out a base plus utilization where we would still be paying more, but not so significantly. So some would be coming up and some would be going down. She's been working to try to figure out what that looks like. So other counties might be interested in it because if it's right sizing it, some will come down while others will go up. So a little bit more parity.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, continue.
Okay, the second, Taylor Allison for the record, the second possible bill draft request proposal that we're bringing forward today, just for consideration, addresses community benefit agreements and working with the development community. Currently, counties absorb the infrastructure, public service, emergency response, and land use impacts associated with large-scale development projects, while simultaneously losing property tax revenue due to state-approved abatements, leaving local governments limited ability to recover costs. This proposed solution would allow statutory framework under Chapter 278, allowing counties to negotiate financial or in-kind contributions from qualifying projects, such as community benefit agreements, to offset those impacts during the abatement periods. Potential contributions could be direct payments, infrastructure improvements, workforce development, investments, or other community and benefits. And Director Gavin Henderson brought this one forward. He's available to answer additional questions. My understanding, this model has been based on lesson learned from counties facing similar challenges as part of the National NACO Rural Energy Academy in these larger renewable energy and other projects that are coming into communities and how we can work together to right size for critical infrastructure.
Commissioner Hendricks.
I have introduced this to the Nevada NACO Legislative Committee as well, because I do think it's important.
Any questions or comments on this one?
I think this is an extremely important issue that we should bring forward on a BDR.
And I will say that we will be pushing it at NACO, so hopefully we can get that back into 17 counties on that instead of us carrying the burden of that one.
Anything else on this one? I think that's a great topic for discussion, is that we do have several challenges. One I didn't bring forward today, it's on NACO's list related to emergency management, but it impacts both cities and counties. Wouldn't necessarily be appropriate for Lyon County to carry that one as our BDR and then go and lobby on behalf of both cities and counties doesn't make sense. So what's the appropriate pathway and avenue to move these forward? This would be one of those as well. Okay, so those are the two that we have on our list so far to start the conversation related to where we're going. And then we just put together a list of recommendations. We're going to continue at the staff level, compiling ideas for possible BDRs that help support county departments, develop a list of legislative priorities. And then our recommendation to the commission would be to select a BDR no later than the second meeting in August to get it in by the final deadline of September 1st.
And I do want to say that September 1st, for the board, we have to get moving on these a lot faster if we're going to ask for NACO to be involved or anything like that, because they have to be ready by September 1st.
Questions?
Any other questions, comments?
I
Commissioner Gassinelli.
got one comment. came up during the Silver City cab. And I was having a conversation with Noelle from Healthy Communities. And I'm not saying I'm for or against it, but she was suggesting the EWS or what is it, earthquake awareness system. I guess that has to be approved at a state level or whatever, but she's making that suggestion that we consider that. So I'm just going to throw it out there. What is it, an earthquake awareness system?
Yeah, so I do have a little bit of information on that. Happy to share more, but the Shake Alert system currently has sensors in Nevada. Some of us get the notifications because we're in between California sensors. But they're looking at the federal level to allow additional funding to implement sensors in Nevada. And that would require state support for that project too.
Yeah.
So we'll keep supporting that moving forward. Obviously, we are still having seismic activity, so it's great.
Any other questions?
Chair, I do have,
Go ahead.
I do have just an observation that it is nice having an in-house lobbyist, because in the past, we did not have this kind of communication to our departments, to my knowledge, and so good work, nice communication.
And I think our possible action here is to direct staff, and I want to, maybe make the motion to pursue the two that you, just so that it's official. So make a motion to pursue the two that you just presented.
To continue researching.
Yes. Direction.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by me, Commissioner Keller, second by Commissioner Hendricks. Those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, did we do public?
Public comment. We can reverse it if we need to. We have no public comment. So we'll keep the motion as it stands. 16B for possible action, approve settlement agreement and mutual release between James P. Hayden, Diane E. Hayden.
Commissioner Keller.
Yes.
Just to clarify, so it's a motion to direct staff.
It was a motion to direct staff to continue researching those two. For possible action, approve settlement agreement and mutual release between James P. Hayden, Diane H. Haddon and Lyon County, Lyon County Board of Commissioners, Andrew Haskin in his official capacity as county manager, and Steve Ryan in his official capacity as district attorney, wherein the county will pay $3,000 to the Haddons in exchange for dismissal of the action and no admission of liability by any way. County Manager Andrew Haskin.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager, we have reviewed the settlement agreement and we believe that it is in the best interest of the county. We respectfully ask for approval of the agreement. Our outside counsel is also recommending approval of the agreement.
Any questions or comment from the board? Is there any public comment? You bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to approve the settlement agreement and mutual release between James P. Haddon, Diane E. Haddon, and Lyon County, Lyon County Board of Commissioners, Andrew Haskin in his official capacity as county manager, and Stephen Ryan in his official capacity as district attorney, wherein the county will pay $3,000 to the Haddons in exchange for dismissal of the action and no admission of liability by any party.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. We'll now recess to convene as the Willow Creek General Improvement District Board. Public participation. No action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. It is anticipated that public participation will be held at this time, though it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda action item. But before the board takes any action, any public participation? Seeing none. Move on to 18 budget, 18A, time certain at 9 o'clock AM, public hearing on the tentative budget for fiscal year 2026-2027. Oil Creek General Improvement District Department of Taxation approval letter for tentative budget. Mr. Foley.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller for the record, just wanted to note that we have a letter, read into the minutes that the Department of Taxation has examined the tentative budget and found it to be in compliance with applicable laws and regulations. And then if you just want to open the public hearing and then close it, that'd be great.
We're opening up this for public comment, public hearing. Seeing nothing, we're going to close the public hearing. Move on to 18B for possible action, approve the final budget for the fiscal year 2026-2027.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller for the record, the budget has no changes from the tentative budget, the final budget does.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to approve the final budget for fiscal year 2026 through 2027.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Jacobson. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Our last public participation. Seeing none, we'll move on to adjourn to convene as the Mason Valley Mosquito Abatement District Board. Is there any public participation? Did you raise your hand? Okay, come forward.
Robin Davis for the record. So we're convened for the Mason Valley Mosquito, is that where we're at?
That's where we're at.
Okay, over at the Mountain View Park here in Yerington, they redid the pond and, they've stocked it with, the trout. They took all the rocks away, so it's pretty muddy, but in the past, we have had, Fish and Game, or I believe, brought in, they look like a little guppy, a female guppy, but it's a fish that eat the mosquito larva. And when we had those in there, the problems with the mosquitoes and was so much better. I mean, even in the county area, because the mosquito larva, they were eating the mosquito larva. So just hope someone will look into getting that done. I'll bring that to the city hall attention as well. Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment? Closing public comment, we'll go to 21A, time certain, 9 o'clock AM, public hearing on the tentative budget for fiscal year 2026-2027.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller for the record, I'd like to have read into the record the attachment, which is the letter from the Department of Taxation stating the tentative budget has been examined and is in compliance with applicable laws and regulations.
Open it up for public hearing. Seeing no comments, we're going to close public hearing and go on to 21B for possible action. Approve the final budget for fiscal year 2026-2027.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller for the record, there are no changes from the tentative budget to the final budget.
Do we have any questions or comments? Any public comment?
Chair Keller, I'll make a motion to approve the Mason Valley Mosquito Control District budget for 2026-27.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Jacobson, seconded by Commissioner Hendricks. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Is there any public participation? Seeing none, we'll adjourn to convene as Walker River Weed Control District Board. Is there any public participation? Seeing none, we'll move to 24A, time certain, o'clock AM. Public hearing on the tentative budget for fiscal year 2026-2027.
Josh Foy, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record, we have a letter from the Department of Taxation. They've examined the tentative budget. It is in compliance with applicable laws and regulations.
Okay, we're opening this up for a public hearing. Are there any comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and move on to 24B for possible action. Approve the final budget for the fiscal year 26-27.
Josh Foy, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record, there are no changes from the tentative budget to the final budget.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to approve the final budget for fiscal year 2026 to 2027.
Second. A motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye. 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 Is there any public motion passed 5-0. Is there any public participation? Seeing none, we'll adjourn to convene as the Central Lyon County Vector Control District Board. Is there any public participation? Seeing none, we'll move on to 28A, time certain, 9 o'clock AM, public hearing on the tentative budget for the fiscal year 26-27.
Josh Foy, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record, we received a letter from the Department of Taxation stating the tentative budget was in compliance with applicable laws and regulations.
Open this up for public hearing. Is there any comments? Seeing none, we're going to close public hearing, go on to 28B for possible action, approve the final budget for the fiscal year 2026 to 2027.
Josh Foy, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record, there are no changes from the tentative budget to the final budget.
Any comments or questions from the board? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to approve the final budget for fiscal year 2026 through 2027.
Second. A motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Public participation. Is there any public participation at this time? Seeing none, we'll close that. We're going to adjourn to convene as the Silver Springs General Improvement District Board. Is there any public participation? Seeing none in the room, online, bring it to 31A. Time certain at 9 o'clock AM, public hearing on the tentative budget for fiscal year 2026 to 2027.
Josh Foy, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record, I wish I could just play a recording, but we did receive a letter from the Department of Taxation stating that the tentative budget was in compliance with applicable laws and regulations.
Going to open it up for public hearing. Any comments? Seeing none, I'll close public hearing and move on to 31B for possible action. Approve the final budget for fiscal year 2026 to 2027.
Josh Foy, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record, there are no changes recommended for the final budget from the tentative.
Any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to approve the final budget for fiscal year 2026 through 2027.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Adjourn to reconvene as the Lyon County Board of Commissioners. Oh, public participation. Seeing none, now we'll adjourn to reconvene as the Lyon County Board of Commissioners. Any public comment? Agenda request. Administrative policies and procedures 1.05. A commission member or elected official department head may request an item be considered on a future agenda either by making an oral request at a county commissioner meeting or submitting the request in writing to the county manager at least 30 days prior to the meeting for which this item is requested to be placed on the agenda. Any agenda requests? Seeing none, we'll move on to commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank past, present military as we mourn and honor their American military personnel over Memorial Day weekend.
Commissioner Hendricks,
I'll just echo that.
Commissioner Casanelli,
Yeah, just echo that as well. And everybody, please have a safe Memorial Day.
Commissioner Hockaday.
Yes, everybody have a safe Memorial Day. Also, an announcement that Smith Valley will have their Memorial Day ceremony at the Hillcrest Cemetery at the Veterans area, and that they have a new plaque that was actually donated by the Clampers, and they're going to be presenting that to the Smith Valley Hillcrest Cemetery. Also, just quick question for the public. If anybody knows where the Valley Grove Cemetery lock went to, it is now missing. I'd appreciate it being returned to the Valley Grove Cemetery gate. And you don't have to lock the gate, but please put it back on the fence where it's supposed to be so that we can maintain some control over that cemetery when we need to.
Thank you. I'll just echo the same comments that the rest of the board has presented. Now move on to public participation. Do we have any public participation?
Diggs for the record. Lyon County is the fastest growing county in the state of Nevada, and we're not being responsible with the mega solar farms. They're low, they're not doing what needs to be done with that extension office brought in there, and our panels are very low to the ground and they turn. And so it's wiping out, the kit box, they're not spaced out. It's a real problem, and the water and the artificial intelligence is a real issue, even on the private property, but out on the Seni's property, everybody's saying these mega solar farms are going over to Mineral County. But the water, city was sitting the water out, our city water out north into the county land for them to do those mega solar farms. And they have been drilling over in Mineral County and haven't found water yet. And they're very low to the ground, very bad for the environment. We are not being good stewards of the land. One going in on East Walker Road past the state of Nevada parks. Another mega farm going into Mineral County, no water. They've been drilling and drilling for months. Now they are taking some of Snyder Livestock and Farm. They've got they're selling some of their water rights to them to continue doing that, and that we're not being responsible. They're low and turning. The cleanup out on that property, Dayton, I believe it might have been, it would have been nice, they ran there, and maybe they ran those people's names through the data center to see if there are outstanding warrants in other states and even in Nevada. If people were under the influence, they should have been sent to a crisis hospital like Mallory's in Carson. As far as the juvenile probation and getting the tasers and the cameras, I think some of the responsible juveniles should have a camera as well. When my daughter was involved with juvenile probation and had hours of service, juvenile probation would not allow me to take her to the Vineyard Fellowship Church, the Catholic Church, clean up branches on the grounds, clean inside the church. They would not allow me to take her to the Boys and Girls Club at a thrift store. They took her out to night in the country to clean up in the mornings, and they found the juveniles found a way to get in after the concert.
Okay, your time is up. Thank you. Is there any other public participation? Seeing none, closed public participation. Do we have a closed personnel? Okay, so we're going to adjourn our regular meeting. It is 11:26.